Hello, everybody, and welcome in. It's time for a pregame show. That's right, the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast pregame show. As tonight, your Utah Hockey Club taking on the Vancouver Canucks. As we head into tonight's action, I'm going to take you through here for the next half hour. We're going to talk about the matchups, look inside the numbers, and set the stage for you on your way in. We're doing a half-hour pregame show here tonight, so if you're on your way to the arena and maybe you missed it, you can always re-listen on your way in. But also, we know that some folks are probably at home checking out the YouTube feed right now. So we will do the pregame here from 60 to 30 minutes before puck drop. And again, you can always replay us on the way in if you missed anything. So heading into tonight, the Utah Hockey Club carries a record of 14, 11, and 5 in the 30 games played. That's 33 points. And when you break it down to the wild card right now, the standings, well, on the outside looking in, but that's not the worst thing for the Utah Hockey Club, because guess who they're playing tonight? That's right, the Vancouver Canucks, 16, 9, and 5, 37 points. They are just in front of Utah Hockey Club. If perhaps a win tonight could get Utah Hockey Club on the cusp of that playoff possibility, that's what they're looking at. That's what they're excited about, is the fact that right now this team is exactly where we talked about wanting them to be, on that playoff cusp, right in the conversation. It's funny, Andre Tourney said earlier today, hey, you know what? We've been in the playoffs before. We were in the playoffs at this point last year, so they're no strangers to being in the race. With that in the backdrop, we're going to set the stage for you here, doing the live pregame show, the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm flying solo. Robin is unfortunately unavailable for the pregame show, but Robin will be back later for the postgame show. So you've got just me. I do want to let you know that while we're doing the live version of this, if you do have questions and comments, go ahead and drop them in the YouTube chat, and I will try to get to your questions and comments during the pregame show as best as I can. So do want to let everybody know that this show is brought to you in part by Built Rewards. Today's episode brought to you by Built Rewards. Right now, you can start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. So that's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. Okay, so as we take a look at the matchup here, a couple of things I think that come to mind when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks. They are road warriors this year. And getting to know your opponent a little bit is the first time ever in franchise history these two teams will face off. The Canucks are 10-2-1 on the road this year, which is a crazy good mark for Vancouver. And they just got their top goaltender back from injury in Thatcher Demko, who, quite frankly, has been injury prone the last couple of seasons. He struggled to stay healthy, but he is going to be in net tonight. We'll get into the goaltending matchup a little bit later in the pregame show. But the Canucks have a lot of things going right for them right now. They did not get off to the best start this year. Things are starting to settle in a little bit more to where perhaps a lot of us hockey observers thought they would be in the beginning of the year. The Calgary Flames started hot, pardon the pun, and have now fallen back. They are actually occupying that last wild card spot as we speak right now. And they're tied with the Colorado Avalanche at 36 points for that second wild card spot. Now, the Canucks at 37 are just in front of them. But the Pacific Division has started to settle its way back. Vegas in front, followed by the Kings and the suddenly red-hot Oilers. The Oilers had won 5 in a row before losing their most recent. So you know what? The Oilers finally picking it up. They had another slow start to the year where everybody was saying, what's wrong with the Oilers? They're fine. It was the same thing that happened to them last year. They got off to a terrible start. Everybody said, what's wrong with the Oilers? They're fine. In the Central Division, coming into tonight's game, Winnipeg occupies the top spot, 47 points and a 23-9-1 record, which is pretty darn solid. Minnesota right behind them with 44 points, and then the Dallas Stars, who are in action tonight. We'll look at the scoreboard in just a little bit. And the Stars in action, 38 points. So in the division, you then have Colorado working their way up the standings. They also had a terrible start to the season. They are rising to the top. And then Utah and St. Louis right there at 33 points. Now, that's about what I expected. And perhaps I had Minnesota lower, Colorado higher. The Wild are having a very good season this year, and they're hanging right in at the top. I knew the Jets were going to be good. Dallas is going to be good. This is a tough division. So if you're going to get in, If you are St. Louis or Utah or, Calgary, you may have to be a team that sneaks in that number 8 spot. We have a lot of hockey to play before we get to that point, but that's where we are heading into this evening's contest. So really a big one for Utah. I had a chance to do a guest spot on ESPN 700 earlier today in Salt Lake City talking about, is this a measuring stick game? It absolutely is. Very good goaltending for the Utah Hockey Club to go against. Their special teams has been good, but not as good at the Delta Center. And interestingly enough, Utah is a better road team than they are a home team as well, just like the Canucks. You look at their numbers, whether it's even strength, special teams, they're just not as good at Delta Center. And I think that's still part of them finding their footing in the new rink, in the new facility. They'll get there, especially when they're doing it on the road. That gives me a lot of encouragement. And being 4-0-1 in the last 5, as Utah Hockey Club is, and getting those 4 wins on the road, I think is pretty big. It's a big step in the evolution for this team, especially when you consider the injuries, which they still have 4 starting defensemen out of the lineup. That is a mind-blowing number for an NHL hockey club to have its top 4, well, not top 4, but 4 defensemen out of the lineup. Still no real update on when Robert Bortuzzo might be back. So, he's listed as day-to-day, but definitely not going to be back anytime. Well, maybe, hopefully soon. Maybe there's a little surprise in there for you. But in the meantime, you pick up Dakota Mermis off waivers, and he comes over from Toronto. And Mermis is a guy that is known to this organization back when they were the Coyotes, played several seasons between the AHL and the NHL for the Coyotes. So you know what you're getting. You get a steady presence back there, and that allows you to make some other moves. Connaughton went back down to Tucson. So right now, Utah, despite everything, is playing some pretty darn good hockey, and that's encouraging. I'm really impressed with where they are despite everything that is going on. So kudos to them, and hopefully they're able to keep that up. All right, let's take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard here for you, and we'll do this once or twice during this pregame show. On a Wednesday night, there's not a lot going on in the league, but 4 of the 5 games have really big playoff implications. Even though it's only December, I mean, it's never too early to start talking about where teams could end up in the race. Red Wings and Flyers, that game right now, middle of the third period, Red Wings 5, Flyers 4. In the second period, you've got the Leafs with a 4-2 lead over the Dallas Stars. Weird stat of the night so far, Leafs 4 goals on 9 shots against Dallas. That's a little strange. Coming up here at the bottom of the hour, you got Panthers and Wild, and of course then 10 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Mountain Time, Canucks and Utah Hockey Club, as well as the Jets over at the Ducks. So that one doesn't have as much interest, I think, for the rest of the sporting world, but you're going to see the Canucks and Utah Hockey Club, I think, really garner a lot of attention as the late matchup here in the NHL. So what we're going to do right now, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to get inside the numbers here on this one. Got some stats I wanted to share with you, some interesting trends that are going on. Plus, again, if you are watching us right now, I encourage you to go ahead, throw your comments in there. I'll take a look over on the chat side of things and see if I can get to some of those questions and comments as we go along here in this live pregame show. Utah Hockey Club and the Vancouver Canucks coming up at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. And today's show is brought to you in part by Select Quote. Let me go ahead and see. I'm doing all this live, so you folks get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain here. So you get to see me move up all the banners live as it happens. Okay, so the World Series, Super Bowl, and Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing, and that's teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. You invest so much time to take care of yourself, be the healthiest, best version of you. Select Quote's exclusive policies can reward that effort. And these policies are more affordable than you think. You could get coverage for up to $1 million for as little as $20 a month. Select Quote. They shop, you save. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. That's selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. And today's show is also brought to you in part by Built Rewards. Look, if you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in the program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences exclusive to Built members. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. That's joinbuilt, B-I-L-T, joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. Make sure to use our link so they know that we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Okay, so as we come back here, by the way, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Also, want to remind you when you go check out our sponsors, when you use some of those offers that we give you, we very much appreciate it because it also helps support our show and what we're doing here. So that's important stuff. And you know what? Everybody's been great. No complaints whatsoever. And really thrilled to be able to talk to you folks about Utah Hockey Club. So there were some trades in the NHL today. And want to talk a little bit about those because this is kind of interesting and early. However, there are a couple of teams that really are struggling and not finding the way to right the ship. But we know the Nashville Predators have been open for business. We've heard that they're starting to make some moves right now. The New York Rangers are open for business. They have started to shuffle the deck chairs. And also, we know the Buffalo Sabres are a team really struggling right now, trying to figure out just how to get a win at this point. If I could gift wrap one and put it under the tree for the Sabres, I absolutely would because they are just really struggling right now. But today, already 2 trades have been made. First one, the Pittsburgh Penguins acquired defenseman P.O. Joseph from St. Louis for future considerations. Now, Joseph had actually been playing with his brother on the Blues, and they were looking forward to playing together in the Winter Classic. But 2 weeks before that dream was to happen, P.O. Joseph goes back to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And also today, speaking of the Rangers, the Seattle Kraken acquired forward Capo Caco from the Rangers for defenseman Will Borgen, a 3rd rounder in the 2025 NHL draft, and a 6th round pick in 2025. So Caco, who was a former 2nd overall pick, was a healthy scratch earlier a couple of games ago, got back in the lineup last time out, but just really underperforming, and the Rangers as a whole are underperforming. Let's face it. That's a struggling team. So I wonder if we might not see some more movement here. Some of these teams who really, as we're separating out, and I talked about it just a moment ago in the last segment, as we're separating out right now, this is when, if you are not hovering around the pack or you're not hovering around where you want to be, you might not get there. You know, it becomes harder and harder to chase those points as you get into January, February, March. So we're seeing some teams move early, and I think the Rangers are going to continue to do things. I know a lot of people disagree with the handling of the Jacob Trouba move, but the Rangers, they're open for business right now. So I don't know if Utah Hockey Club is primed to make a move or not. They certainly don't have the defensive capital now. They will at the trade deadline. They're pretty well stocked with defensemen once everybody gets healthy. But for now, it would be hard-pressed for me to see Utah really jumping into the deep end of this pool. But you never know. I mean, if it's something that helps the hockey club, maybe you would see it done. So checking out some of the questions on YouTube. Car Wash wants to know, if Arizona does get an NHL team back again, would you guys, meaning Robin and I, switch back over or stay with Utah and Utah Hockey Club? Car Wash, first of all, you're talking about something that is minimum 5 years away. Minimum. There is no building. So the process and the RFP for that to even get a building in Arizona is going to take 3 years. And that's from the time they get the land. So you're talking minimum 5 years, 7 years, 8 years out. By that time, if I'm still doing this show in 5 years, there's no way I'm leaving the show. This is where I am. So no, absolutely not. Let's see. David says both teams have had similar paths this year. Will be a great matchup. What are the key points to Utah being able to capture the win? So David, perfect question because it plays into where I wanted to go with this segment. Taking a look at what the Canucks have done on the road, you can surmise they're a pretty dangerous team. They are top 10 power play, top 10 penalty kill, when they're on the road. Utah's special teams, bottom 10 in penalty kill. both power play and penalty kill at home. So I'm going to circle special teams because Utah's power play especially has been really good, really effective here over the last couple of weeks. They're 4 for their last 8. Big power play goal to help them beat the Sharks. They are on, I think, a trajectory of really improving, and familiarity on special teams is what helps them improve. So that's a huge circle for me tonight. Stay out of the box, Utah. That is one of them. And sometimes, I talk about their naps, how they're prone to the silly penalties a little bit. For the most part, they're starting to eliminate those. It still happens every once in a while. If they can eliminate those in the game tonight, that is huge. Keep that Vancouver power play off the ice. Keep Jake DeBrusk off the ice. He's on an incredible pace. Didn't score his first goal till November 2nd, but he has 14 since then. And he's got 6 on the power play. So keep it away from DeBrusk. Oh, by the way, 11 of those 14 are on the road for Jake DeBrusk. So clearly he's a guy to watch out for. That Pettersson's going to be able to distribute. Hughes is going to be able to distribute. 28 assists already for Hughes on the year. He is the key through which that power play flows. So they really have to mind that. Another thing that I think is going to be key tonight, when looking at the stats, I thought it was pretty interesting. I was kind of taking a look at the numbers in this one, and Utah Hockey Club has not allowed a first period goal in 10 of the last 11 games. So I looked at the first period stats overall for both of these teams. Now, goals by period right now, Utah Hockey Club is a +10. They are outscoring opponents 27-17 in the first period. That's not even their strongest scoring period, but the second period is their weakest, where they're a -10. They've scored 28 goals, but allowed 38. So a good start for Utah is still important. And Vancouver, actually, the only period they're a minus in goals for is the first. They're -4. They've scored 27, giving up 31. So I think getting off to a good start at home is important for the Utah Hockey Club. The opening 20 minutes is absolutely key. And then I look at the second period. That's Vancouver's strongest period, Utah Hockey Club's weakest period. So now it moves into not only having the starts you've been having, but it means also sustaining it. And really, you're looking for a 60-minute effort here, but that second period lapse, that second period, like the doldrum, the nap, has to be eliminated. And if you don't do that tonight, Vancouver could easily come roaring back this evening. So that was definitely something I wanted to get into and talk about. The other thing is, too, the shots, Utah being outshot in the second and third, but they're a little bit stronger in the first. Vancouver, meanwhile, the second's their strongest period. Vancouver has been outshot in every period on average this year. So they're not shooting the puck as much as a lot of other teams. And Utah Hockey Club has spurts where they'll collect 3, 4, 5 shots within a 2-shift span, and then they don't get another shot for 10 minutes. I would like to see those spread out a little more or just multiplied. See continuing pressure from rolling the 4 lines and being able to put those lines out there. Haven't really seen a ton of that here this year. So Robin dropping into the comments. Hi, Robin. And Robin, encouraging you to send in those questions, and appreciate you guys dropping in with us. David, you're welcome. Happy to answer that question. So Josh, go Canucks go. He says 4-2. So Josh is taking the over, by the way, on those odds that we had up on the last show. I can appreciate that, Josh. I've been a longtime follower of the Canucks myself. I actually grew up in Buffalo, New York as a kid, but I remember, Vancouver and several, solid playoff runs. I remember the yellow flying V jerseys. I'm probably older than most folks watching this game, or this pregame show. But yeah, I have followed the Canucks for a long time. They've always been a sympathetic favorite of mine. So, I get it. And I don't mind having the opposing fans in here. It always leads to a lot of fun. So, all right, why don't we grab another break here? And what we'll do when we come back, I'm going to go back to the numbers a little bit more, talk about more things. If you have questions, please feel free to throw them in. I appreciate you putting those in the chat, and absolutely look forward to talking a little bit more here. We're going to wrap it up in about 10 minutes. I know that those of you who are going to be on your way down to the game here tonight, I'm going to tell you about a guy who I saw who was giving away some tickets to Utah Hockey Club games here in just a second. Come on back. All right. And today's show is also brought to you in part by Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas and offering you 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. So, you know what? This week on Prize Picks, if you want to look at, and boy, we talked about this, the over under, but the way things are going, I think the first period's a solid bet. Maybe talking about Utah keeping Vancouver off the board in the opening frame. That's a pretty good one. I'll tell you what, though, if you're going to bet on maybe Hughes picking up a helper or two in the game tonight, that's not bad. Shots on goal certainly coming from there. Power play point. It's so simple to make picks and have fun with friends while potentially cashing out fast. Download the app today and use our code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. Prize Picks. Run your game. Okay, so as we come back here into our final segment of this Utah Hockey Club pregame show, the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast, don't forget while you're here, please hit the the subscribe button, throw comments in there. Again, I'm taking questions from the comments of the live stream. We appreciate you all being here and watching. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. A couple of news and notes that I had that I wanted to get to. And if you follow me over on Blue Sky, I am on Twitter as well. You can see my Twitter handle there at Callahan on air. But also, if you go over, I'm on Blue Sky at Tom Talks. And I kind of dropped in some nuggets earlier today, but a couple of interesting stats. And these are just too fun not to share. How about this one? Lawson Krause has scored on 3 of his 7 shots against Thatcher Demko, which is 42.9% in his career. No other current Utah Hockey Club player has scored against Demko except Nick Schmaltz, who's got 1 goal on 8 shots, which is crazy. More guys have scored on the backup goaltender, Lankinen, on this roster. 6 players have scored against Lankinen. Only 2 for the Utah Hockey Club have ever scored against Thatcher Demko. I thought that was kind of an interesting little stat that I wanted to throw out there. Here's a couple of other interesting ones. Kevin Stenlund, a great burst, 5-game point streak, scored goals in 4 straight. I love it. He's doing awesome right now. Talked about the power play and what they're doing. And how about the underrated play of Karel Vejmelka? 9th in the league in goaltenders with, now, mind you, 15 or more games played. There are some guys out there who have a 0 save or a 1,000 save percentage and 0 goals against. They played 2 games or they played 1 game. They don't count. 15 or more games. Vejmelka, 9th in goals against average, 2.40. Tied for 7th in save percentage with a 915. He's in a contract year. And I said before the year, he had to play for his life, essentially, coming into this year. He's done that. He's done a great job. I am very impressed with his play. I think he's looked more and more solid, more and more confident the longer he's been in there. So kudos. Veggie's been playing well, even with the injuries in front of him defensively, and even with sometimes those second and third chances going allowed, I guess, is the best way to put it. Some of those saves are very high danger chances. Utah Hockey Club is still susceptible to giving up those high danger chances. I'd like to see them really work to eliminate those. So that's another thing I'm looking at for these guys. Another thing, we talked about the strong start, and kind of this leads back to the question I got earlier about what's key tonight. Utah Hockey Club 11-3-4 when scoring first, which means they've scored first in 18 of their 30 games this season, which also, then I go back to talking about how they haven't allowed a goal in 10 of 11 first periods. That means to me they've got to strike early. So I really think if you are Utah, what is going to get you off to, and you always say on the road, you want to come out, make the visiting team weather the storm. The old school phrase is leave them on the bus, meaning let that team feel like they just got off the bus, that they don't have their legs yet, that they're struggling to get it going. That's exactly what you want to do with these guys. You want to leave them on the bus. That is so important to Utah. And I'll tell you what, that to me is probably the biggest thing they could possibly do. So the other thing I kind of wanted to talk about, and we mentioned it a little bit on a show not too long ago, but was the fact that Alex Kerfoot echoed it earlier this week in practice. And also it came from head coach Andre Tourigny as well, talking about there's kind of a new belief with this team going into games in this last little 4-0-1 stretch. There's a new excitement. They are now beginning to believe in themselves, regardless of the situation. That Sharks win I think that was actually a more important win than the convincing 4-1 win. And here's why. They had to dig themselves out to do it. There were mistakes made where you could just roll your eyes and say, here we go again. And you could fold the tent. They didn't do it. They actually stayed really strong. And to me, that is exactly what this team is going to need to continue to do. But when you win those games, when you score a late power play goal, when your power play hadn't been great, but all of a sudden finds itself converting, now what you're going to do later on in the year is you're going to think back to that moment and you're going to say, hey, we've been here. We've done this. We understand how to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And that is huge. So those are big moments. And that confidence is really starting to build with this team. And that is not something you can just assign. You can't say, hey, guys, be confident. Go out there, be confident in yourself. You know your abilities. Well, of course you do. But when the results on the scoreboard tell you otherwise, look at the Buffalo Sabres, you begin to doubt yourself. Every team in this league is good. Every team is capable of winning against any other team if they don't bring their best effort. It's that simple. And sometimes you can play what you think is your best game and still get beat because the other team just elevated their game a little bit more. Or maybe you got a bad bounce. You know, if somebody sends a rim around the glass, the puck hits a stanchion and goes in your net, there's not much you can do about that. That's puck luck. Sometimes that's what beats you. But over the course of a season, I believe those breaks even out. If you're a hardworking team, if you're a team that hustles, you generate your own breaks and you generate your own luck. And so that's what I look for from this Utah Hockey Club team tonight. All right. Talking about what's going on here, I do want to jump into that goaltending matchup right before we wrap things up here. And just a reminder, 30-minute pregame show here tonight. You know what? If you like these pregame shows and you want us to do more of them, let us know. We're doing this not only as kind of obviously it's a service to the fans and we appreciate you guys being here, but also I just wanted to see, do you like us going in and doing these types of live shows? What about live post-game shows? Certainly drop us a comment, or you can always track us down on social right there. Again, my Twitter handle right there at Callahan on air. I'm at Tom Talks over on Blue Sky, and you can always, the show is everywhere. Facebook, Blue Sky, X, you can find us. So, all right, let's take a look at the goaltending matchup here then before we hit the road on this. Get a little sip of water to hydrate here. And as I mentioned, with the Utah Hockey Club coming into tonight, Vejmelka's been doing amazing. Now, his one loss is not a great number at 6-7-2, but again, I talked about that 2.40 and the 915, where that sits him in the league. I think the guys are confident in front of him, especially with the save percentage like that. Demko's getting the nod. And this is his fourth start since returning from injury. He's 1-1-1 with a 3.32 and an 881. My hope is that they catch Demko still a little rusty, still trying to figure things out and getting his game timing back. That is probably the most important thing for me. I really hope that they are able to jump on. And again, if they jump on him early with a guy just coming back like Demko is, yes, he's been their number one when healthy, but everybody's human. And maybe you put a little doubts in and maybe Demko thinks, you know what, I'm still figuring this out and I don't have it tonight. Everybody's human. So, and then I just want to give you a couple players to watch here for the Canucks. I talked about Jake DeBrusk, 14 goals, 11 on the road, 6 on the power play. DeBrusk is the leading goal scorer for this Canucks team. He is absolutely massive. Quinn Hughes, 28 assists in his first 30 games, 35 points, leads the team, is plus 11, best on the team. Absolutely the power play distributor. That's the guy you've got to keep an eye on when it comes to special teams tonight. Connor Garland, a guy we talked about. Robin Leano brought up Connor Garland a couple of shows ago there. Actually, it was in our Canucks preview this morning, now that I think about it. 17 assists. That is actually second on the team to Hughes. So Garland is up there. And then you've got two unexpected guys at 11 goals. I would just, if you asked me to pick names off this roster after DeBrusk, Tom, who do you think the next two highest goal scorers are at 11 goals apiece? I did not have either Kiefer Sherwood or Pius Suter. I didn't have either one of those guys, but they're off to a great start. And the other guy that I just love, if I could plant him on any team that I root for, I would, is JT Miller. I know he's getting up there a little bit, but I think JT Miller is a heart and soul, salt of the earth guy. Love to have a JT Miller on my team if I could. All right, I've taken you up to about a half hour before puck drop. I know you can switch over to regular coverage. I appreciate you being here and checking out the show tonight, folks. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Continue to leave comments, subscribe, hit that like button. It helps us out. It helps the algorithm know that you like what we're doing, and you can find us a little bit easier. Thanks to everybody who dropped some comments in there, and we look forward to bringing you more of these. So thank you so much, and we will catch you all soon. Follow the show. Follow us on socials. Go Utah Hockey Club. Let's see if they can bring home 2 points tonight over the Canucks.